It looks like we have another U.S. military officer that is coming out of the woodwork to resign his commission at a senior level right before retirement. On a moral standpoint here, that he is resigning his commission at 19 years of service. Now, we're not talking about Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller, which is known for his video that he came out with, and this did bring questions for a lot of people. Are we going to see other people come out and talk about this as well, which does look like there is this Army officer that's come into the public spotlight. Now, I will tell you before I get into this, this is not being shared across his own personal social media, hasn't made a video, hasn't done anything other than this letter. On top of that, it does look like the spouse of the service member is the one that's released this across her social media and garnered a big following from it. It's kind of weird coming from her and not from him, but it is official and looks pretty legit to me as far as the letter goes. This is written on 23 August 2021, in which he addresses with the subject unqualified resignation for Haig Paul D. Now, number one, he says, I, Haig Paul Douglas Jr., Lieutenant Colonel, tender my unqualified resignation from the Army under the provisions of AR 135-175, paragraph 6-10, or AR 600-8-24, Chapter 3, Section 2, as applicable to be effective blank or as soon as allowable prior to this, giving reasonable transition and expenditure of accrued leave time. And then number two, he says, I am not under suspension or favorable action, under investigation, pending charges, or being considered for elimination. Number three, I will have fulfilled my active duty service obligations as specified in AR 350-100 by my separation date. Number four, with over 19 years of service, I regretfully yet resolutely tender my resignation for the following reasons. A, first and foremost, I am incapable of subjecting myself to the unlawful, ethical, immoral, and tyrannical order to sit still and allow a serum to be injected into my flesh against my will and better judgment. It is impossible for this so-called to have been studied adequately to determine the long-term effects. It simply has not existed for enough time, and any claim otherwise is blatantly ignorant and likely an outright lie driven by negligent political agenda. Furthermore, ample studies show that naturally derived immunity based on exposure to the virus offers far superior protection than the mandated vaccine. B, I cannot and will not contribute to the fall of this great nation and its people, those very Americans whom I swore to protect the liberty of at all costs. The values that our nation was founded on, has lived by and thrived under, have been utterly decimated by the current presidential administration and the leadership of the military, to include the Army. We are watching the fall of liberty at this moment. Governors and mayors forcibly locking down millions of Americans, restricting them from their unalienable right to pursue happiness, forcing them out of their jobs and their ability to participate in the most basic and fundamental right life offers because of their personal beliefs and values. These are the same values that we service members offer very lives protect, and now we are being used as tools to boost the numbers of vaccinated people in order to further distance and alienate those who, knowing the personal risk of the disease, have freely decided to remain unvaccinated. I cannot be used as a tool against them, as they are my daughters, my son, my siblings, and my friends. They are the Americans that deserve my support and love. C, a complete lack of confidence in the presidential administration and secretaries directing the military, as demonstrated by the sudden and rash at best but pushing traitorous withdrawal from the strategic decisions with regard to Afghanistan made by these people have not only unnecessarily cost the lives of 13 service members and many enemies, but have undoubtedly set our nation up for many more attacks both in Afghanistan within our own borders. While the need to respond quickly to move friendly personnel out of harm's way may have been necessary, I have concerns that appropriate screening of personnel could not have taken place with the chaos and haste of the operations, potentially leading to transporting threatening to friendly nations, including the United States. The entire situation was completely preventable by following the most basic tactics taught in all military schools to every soldier in the Army. Establish security first and remove the security last. For our military leaders to overlook this at the level they operate gives reason for total lack of confidence and even cause for concern that the best interests of the United States, her people, her allies, is not what is motivating those in positions of authority. D, what I view as an ideologically Marxist takeover of the military and United States government at the upper level echelons. E, I will continue my service in this great nation, uphold the Constitution of the United States, but I feel that I can no longer do this while serving the military. It is my belief that the military is currently being used to the contrary, neither serving the great nation nor upholding the Constitution. I would like nothing more than to continue in the Army to reach my 20 years of active federal service and retire with my pension. However, instead, I will join those who have served before me in pledging my life, my fortune, and my sacred honor to continue resisting the eternal and ever mutable forms of oppression and tyranny, both from enemies outside our nation's borders and those within. Number 5, I understand that if my release from active duty is accepted, that my character of services will be characterized as honorable or under honorable conditions as determined by Headquarters Department of the Army. Number 6, present duty station is blank, Fort Bragg, North Carolina, 28310. And number 7, he says, I do not desire separation over sea. Because I saw so many comments say this, if you're not subscribed, YouTube may have unsubscribed you. Please hit that subscribe button again. If you guys are watching the videos and you were never subbed and today is the day, I appreciate your subscription and hopefully I've earned it from a lot of you guys. But let's get right back to the video. So let's break this down for a second. You look at Lieutenant Colonel, that was the Marine Corps, Stuart Scheller, that came out in a video in uniform, and everybody, even myself, said, could have done this not in uniform, probably would have been okay, right? He knew that was going to get him kicked out of command, things like that. Everybody gave that critique, right? On the post from this, you're seeing a lot of support and things like that on this small level scale. But I will say, I knew that if Stuart Scheller was to make that post that he did in civilian clothes, it would not have hit the same way it did him being in the uniform, because that gave credibility to his career and talking about it, his rank, things like that, where this doesn't really do any of that. I would say it doesn't have him in uniform. It doesn't come straight from the horse's mouth because it's on his wife's page. It's very much about the I would say half, and the other half is very much about the same situation that Stuart Scheller was talking about. I want to give a lot of credit to Task and Purpose on researching into this, because I didn't have the connections or research to go into this, but they did try to reach out to them, no comment, and they've tried to reach out to the Army as well and do criticize them, as the public affairs of the U.S. Army has said nothing other than they know that this is out there and they're keeping it silent. And I think that's because they don't want the same blowback or blow up from people like they did with the Marine Corps with Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller, so that's them trying to die it down. However, what they do criticize is that the narrative from this story is going to run wild or run free if there is no correction or there is no statement made by the U.S. Army on situations like this. They also do verify his service and looking at his Army record over at Task and Purpose, and they say this. Haig joined the Army on May 11, 2002, according to his records, and left active duty on January 29, 2008. He joined the Army Reserves months later in July 2008. He deployed to Iraq for 15 months in September 2007, and again for 13 months in November 2014. Among his military awards and decorations are the Army Commendation and Army Achievement Medals, Afghan Campaign Medal, and 3 stars and the Ranger tab. And I found this very polarizing response on the Task and Purpose comments, which were not the same on the spouse of this service member, where people are actually kind of attacking the service member. He is kind of just doing that, what people were wanting of Stuart Scheller. It's like, if you don't agree with this, walk away, where he's done this and now the response is very lackluster, to say the least. Alan Griffiths writes, probably has 8 anthrax shots under his belt and yet still wants to rob an ICU bed to prove his moxie. To give context to that statement there were a lot of people that were referring to the current issues that people are seeing and saying that this is very similar to the anthrax situation back in the day, as that came out, and now we're looking at in 2021. This is kind of like the new breed of, controversy or issues that are coming out. Rick Sales says he has 19 years of service. Once you hit 18, they can't touch you, and if they try, which they won't because it's not worth it, you just have to go to mental health and write it out. Even under investigation, he will still have enough time to retire and receive all benefits to include TRICARE for life. He lost nothing and said now gets to sit back, get paid, and prepare for civilian life for the entire year. He will get a minimum of $4,625 and then $5,654 with added VA benefits. While married, this guy can possibly receive $9,000 a month without moving a finger. With his title, rank, experience, and degree, he has the requirements to get a very good paying job to add to his $9,000 a month. Say what you want, but this MFer is a genius. Is this just a debacle to be a debacle at this point, to have some kind of like show of force that he supports Stuart Scheller while also just not really losing anything in the process? Will they be able to separate him before his 20 years of service? I mean, by the time it's for him to be processed out, even if he wasn't going to get the shot, he's going to be done. So it's not even worth it for the cost of money for the Army to even process him out at this point. It's almost like, just don't get the shot, fine, you're out, you're done. He would be like the last person grandfathered. And I doubt he'll be able to get the garnered support or benefits that you're going to see from Stuart Scheller, where he's looking at people trying to create presidential races for him or some kind of government position. If you haven't seen his recent post on his Facebook page, he does talk about that, where people are trying to set him up for that position, where this guy is pretty much going to fall under the radar and no one's going to know about him probably in the next couple months very easily, unless we start seeing more of this. Looking at this, what do you think about this guy's situation in regards to, should he have the same support as Stuart Scheller, as he's coming out to kind of be another white knight, I guess you could say, for his cause? Or do you think that it is kind of lackluster in the idea that he's still probably going to get benefits, still going to retire and not have to really suffer at all from these thoughts that people have posted on Facebook? Please let me know down in the comments below. We have weekly video voting, shout outs for every month, and on top of that, you get to support something that you actually agree with as somebody that is trying to pursue their career or thing in media and do this. So I would appreciate that. On top of that, you can support over at the join button below this video over at the YouTube membership. That would be appreciated as well for special perks and benefits here on YouTube. But as always, if you guys have questions about this or anything else, you can always hit me up on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, down in the comments below. I love you guys. I'll see you next time.